This video answers two questions about Righteous Fire. Why is Elementalist the best, and how do we sustain it? The first is simple. This league Steel Mage introduced Orias End, a flask giving us Explode. Now there's other sources of Explode like Profane Bloom or Synth Implicit or Influence mods, but none of them have as low of an opportunity cost as Orias End. Just one flask slot that's also a Bismuth flask, really easy to sustain while mapping. Now these explodes in and of themselves aren't actually that spectacular, but when paired with Ignite Proliferation, it enables off-screen clear, reminiscent of the kinds of things you would have seen with the Herald BV of way back. This explosion, however, selects a random element, so we go Elementalist and grab the Shaper of Flames notable for consistency, and also to enable global Ignite chance really easily. I pair this with the Fan of Flames Cluster Jewel notable, which allows for global Ignite Proliferation, which can also be scaled by my 120% increased AoE on Elementalist, AoE scaling that cannot be done on something like Barracks Respite. Elementalist also provides the highest baseline damage and area of effect of any Ascendancy you can pick. And in a softcore trade RF character, there's nothing else I'm really looking for. Now, to the second question of how you sustain it, it's not quite as hard as you think. Assuming the baseline Passage Tree and Brass Dome give you +5 max res, I really only run 3 sources of life regeneration, and the truth is you only need one of any of the 3 life regen sources to sustain. And they are Vitality, Moral Flesh, and Rational Doctrine. Because my tree has so much strength, it's really easy to fulfill the Consecrated Ground requirement for Rational Doctrine. I choose to run all 3 though because I want to run a wider variety of map mods, things like Reduced Recovery, Reduced Aura Effect, whatever it may be. And it also really helps me out in some of the Uber fights like Uber Maven, Uber Shaper, Uber Elder, where you're taking a lot of small hits or degens, and having something like 1k net regen is invaluable. Now I do make a lot of smaller decisions to push the damage a little bit further into that 7 million DPS range, and I think the top end DPS on a pre-Mage Blood setup while retaining defenses and speed would probably be around 10 million, but I thought this was more than enough to basically all the content in the game. When it comes to mapping though, I run a combination of Haste, Vol Haste, Herald of Ash, and Death Rush for a really explosive and zoomy experience. For a build like RF, it's really about the small decisions that you make on the build to optimize quality of life and playability and area of effect. A core RF build isn't hard to set up, but one that feels really amazing to run through the game with is much more nuanced. All in all though, it's a relatively simple concept, but unlike those Juggernauts and Inquisitors that you see, this is really the epitome of fast and fun.